Oh, hey.
What's up?
I changed that a little.
How's it going?
Good. Hang on. Wait. Let me turn up my volume.
Yeah,
Still.
get situated.
There we go.
No rush. There's only 11 people watching right now. Well, maybe 12.
Wow. Thanks for the
Maybe 12.
pressure, man. Jesus. We just started.
I know. I know. Just imagine a huge room full of people.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I'm naked.
Yeah, imagine that. It's always good. Are you ready? Are you comfortable?
um, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Is this
right,
lighting
cool.
okay? I can't tell.
Lighting's pretty good. Oh, you've got real lighting.
Yeah. It's one of those. You can see it reflected in my glasses, so I might turn it off, but it's fine.
It looks fine. I just have
Let me
the
turn it.
sunlight of Los Angeles right now. Um,
Wow.
and my
Wow.
neighbors, like, they're playing bass next door. So if you guys hear that, that's what it is.
That's
It's
pretty
not me.
sweet. My animals will probably run through barking, and my cat keeps trying to knock down my stand.
Yeah,
So,
no worries. Bring the animals on if you want to. It's all
oh,
good.
I will. I will.
Ask them questions about you.
They have very strong opinions.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. So I want to just, oh, hey, what's his name? Her name.
That's chicken.
Chicken with
Chicken
a
nugget.
little underbite. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
They're keeping me sane.
Cool. So just because you and I have never met before, which is
Ever.
ridiculous, it's really ridiculous.
And I was in your space in Dallas,
I
and you weren't
know.
even
I wasn't there. I wasn't there. Things get complicated when you try to live between two cities.
there. I get it. I
Very
get it.
complicated. Yeah. But how did you like it?
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was really cool, and it was fun teaching with Nicholas because
Cool.
through Pony, I'm educated with Pony. I haven't had a chance to teach with a lot of the educators before, so it was fun going into the space, having Nicholas, meeting everyone, and then I went to some water park at a hotel.
Oh, yeah, in Grapevine. I've never even been there. That place is crazy.
It was. I just sat in a lazy river holding a cocktail. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Come back anytime. It'll be there
Totally.
probably. That's oil money at work right there.
Great.
Um, so I want to hear your story, like from when you were born, because you're such a great character and you're so full of life. I want to know all about it.
I like that you use that word character because that's definitely what I think. I'm a real character, but
Sure.
and it's like been like this my whole like life. It's like I haven't made it up. It just kind of worked out that way. But I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I grew up when I was about 10, starting clown school with my family.
Yes.
So I know some people have heard the story before, but I went to clown school. It was kind of like Girl Scouts. So it's like on the weekends and in the evenings, my aunts, my grandfather, and I would attend clown training classes where you pick up such. My wife just brought the photo.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
That's me.
That's insane. So you guys just had a collective interest in the circus, or
No,
okay.
no, no, no.
All right.
We were not circus clowns. Being a circus clown is like going to Harvard. I was more like the community college of clowns.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
we would learn things like I riding a unicycle,
Mhm.
face painting, um, and there were all these rules in clowning, like rules to follow based on what type of clown you are. So it wasn't just like a grab bag. It was like, okay,
Okay, keep going. I just like so many questions are happening in my head right now. Like, okay,
yeah,
keep going.
which is really interesting when you're thinking about developing characters and developing looks for like shoots too. I always think back to this clowning thing. So I was in a goose clown, which is a German-based clown that has like a fleshy skin colored
Okay,
to them, but there were rules on where you can put the black, the white, the red makeup.
okay,
And my aunt was a white faced clown, and um, there's different personality traits to each clown. the white face clown are the in charge, the strict, the ones that would maybe in a circus they would make the ladder go up, but the goose face clowns were the butt of all the jokes.
Okay.
I would get the pie in the face. I would get squirted with the water. Um, so I think we that made me really like resilient growing up because I would do children's parties.
Did you
And
choose that character? Like you knew what you were getting into and you're like, I want to be that kind of clown?
at 10 years old, you kind of do what you're told.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it was kind of like given to me by my family, along with my name,
Okay.
which was Bubble Bottom.
It's a good clown name.
I not for a 10-year-old.
I, I mean,
This is a whole other conversation, but part of my costume was a fake foam butt that stood out wide as I was tall. So I would do these children's parties on the weekends instead of hang out with my friends. I would do Susie's 5-year-old birthday party wearing a huge foam butt, getting pies thrown in my face.
by
while
your
doing-
family?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
But I also know how to make balloon animals. So
Was this like out of character for your family to do this, or was this like par for the course?
I'm not sure. I come from a Polish Sicilian family,
Hmm.
big personalities on both sides. And everyone was always trying to out personality each other. So I think it was just something that happened.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a lot of screaming in a family too.
you have no idea.
Yeah. Well, my
So yeah,
family is like Serbian, Puerto Rican, and Italian, and they all just scream at each other all the time.
yeah, we all scream. There's some different languages I don't understand thrown in there. But it was fun and it made you get creative with how to be heard,
Hmm. Sure.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Man, that's such a good start. So keep going. So you were a tiny little clown.
I was a tiny little clown from Buffalo,
Hmm.
and I was always like really vocal and really independent. And when I was 15, I believe like when I was a sophomore, starting my junior year, I was very independent, and I decided to live on my own. And I left my parents' house. We're very close now, but I left my parents' house at a very young age and lived with friends. And then I got an apartment, like literally like barely out of high school. I'm living on my own. And in high school, some people thought I was a bad kid, but I was just like loud about my opinions. Like I was the annoying kid that would put the PETA meet your meat tents in all of the cafeteria tables, and I would sew my own clothes. And I started going to drag shows.
Hmm.
When I would sneak out of the house on Sunday nights and go to the one drag club in Buffalo, and I started going to drag shows, and I was like mixing the clowning with the drag. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is me.
Yeah. So,
And
sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
oh no, I don't know where I was gonna go from that. But I don't know. I guess like I had a really strong sense of self and opinion, but not really any direction
Mm.
in any way. I was just like, living in this made up fantasy land for a bit.
Right. Is Buffalo, I should know this, but is it a conservative town? Does it support the
Um,
arts and stuff?
Somewhat. It's like New York City's tiny blue collar, very cold sister. Um, and it's a lot of it's conservative, but my friend group was definitely not conservative.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I feel like my family's conservative, but they weren't vocal about it to me. I didn't start to know their political feelings until like Facebook
Right.
when
It all comes out.
when I had to mute everybody.
So was music a big part of your life? That's always something I like to
Um,
discuss.
I mean, yeah. Well, Fiona Apple's album came out today, and like I
I
was
saw that.
obsessed with. It's a little weird. Obsessed with her. I guess I listened to a lot of like Marilyn Manson. I went through a little goth phase. I was really into the hardcore scene. Like friends with like Every Time I Die, knew the Snapcase dudes, like big in Buffalo. Um, Followed Tori Amos around for a while, as every budding lesbian did, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
I did too. I had to
There we
tour it
go.
myself.
But yeah, I mean, music's important in a lot of ways. I always wanted to sing, and I tried so hard with every musical, but I'm tone deaf, which is really sad. But I always wanted to like sing and do musical theater,
Okay.
um, but I was never allowed to, so I started working in the costume shop instead. But yeah, I feel like music's important to every young kid,
Yeah.
especially all the divas.
Hmm. Sure.
I would listen to a lot of the divas too. It's pretty much just like little gay boy growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a way to do it. So you're finding yourself, well, you kind of already found yourself, it seems like.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, should figure it out.
yeah.
Um, and I've like my dad wanted me to be a teacher, an accountant, something else that was something I would not want to. It wasn't for me. So I went to college for a bit. I tried fashion design. I hated it. And then I was a biology student.
Oh, okay.
Don't know how that happened. So I went to college for biology and then switched to art history and French. And then I think I dropped out or I stopped going. Something happened. I
Hmm.
just never went back. And then I went to hair school behind my dad's back,
Oh, wow.
which was fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like this little hair school in West Seneca, a suburb above an Applebee's.
Okay.
And we would do like little old lady perm sets all day long.
Did you love it? Did you love that kind of hair school?
I, I knew it was not great, but I knew it was what I could afford.
Mhm.
And a lot of the people that were in the hair school with me were doing it just because they needed to make an easy way to make money.
Yeah.
There weren't that many people that went to my hair school that actually like cared about hair,
Hmm.
like in like a real sense. It was a lot of people that God, it's gonna sound so like they didn't go to college, they didn't do this. They
Yeah.
just wanted a way to make a buck.
Sure.
And in Buffalo, doing hair, you can make a great buck.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I sure do. Old lady sets of myself, Ross. I will. Um, but I went. I skipped a lot of classes and had to make a lot of them up. So I would have happy hour at Applebee's in between. And I was just
Delicious.
like always, huh?
Delicious. So good.
Delicious. Um, but yeah, I had it was before like Instagram, obviously, all of that jazz. And I was like trying to figure out where I would fit in the hair world because my father was like, "Don't be a hairdresser. You're you're not going to make any money. You're just going to work and like you're going to destroy your body. You're not going to make that much money. You're never going to go anywhere with it." And I was like, "Ooh, thanks, Dad." So I started trying to like look for where I was going to land in the hair world, and I started working assisting at a salon that carried Bumble and Bumble.
Hmm.
And like I would go to hair shows and stuff with uh, the hair school, but I was like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
It just didn't feel right for me at the time. So I discovered Bumble and Bumble, and it was right when the hair stories came out.
Hmm. Wow.
And
It's a good time.
I started watching those like religiously. I was like, what? Like it blew my mind. So I started watching those, and I'm like, hey guys, in my hair school, do you want to watch these with me?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, that's stupid. Oh, why would anyone want to do hair like that?
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I'm like, it's really cool. So yeah, that's when I realized I was like, okay, that's what I want to do.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. That's
Still like,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm probably with the delay. I'm probably gonna keep interrupting, but I have no idea what I was gonna say.
Um, it's really nice to find like that beacon of light in hair school because I went to Aladdin Beauty School in Plano, Texas. And
That's actually a real name.
yeah, well, it was at the time. I don't think they exist anymore, but um, I wanted to work for Tony and Guy. That's why I started doing hair, and it was big in Dallas. And my dad was like, "Hey, I found this deal at Aladdin Beauty School," and I'm like, "No, no, no, that's not what I did. Was getting trying to get into." And it was exactly what you described. It was, pretty ghetto and like knowing what I know now though, and all of those old lady roller sets that I got to do.
Oh, I love them. I love
God,
them.
I wish I wish I would have embraced that more, but it was the opposite of what I wanted to do. So I just like
Right.
it was there and I was here, you know. So
No,
um,
I loved what I learned there, and I still use a lot of that today. But I left not knowing how to cut a single bob.
yeah, sure.
You learn the 90 degree, and that's it, and
Yeah.
that's all you learn. But working where at the salon that I was at in Buffalo, I worked under this woman Maggie Ryan, and a lot of people at Bumble still like we've had so many conversations about her, but she still works at Bumble,
Hmm.
but she's from Buffalo and she goes back and forth now. And I wouldn't say that I was wild. I was pretty bad.
Hmm.
I was I was pretty hard to wrangle as an assistant, and I pushed back when being taught a lot. But Maggie took me under her wing, and she's like, "Okay, if you stay in Buffalo, you're probably gonna die because there was no, I was, you know, crazy,
Hmm.
and there was nowhere for me to go. So she's like, you have to quit the salon, start bartending, make some money in a few months, and you have to move to New York."
Wow.
And so she trained me in the beginning and taught me like, uh, uh, she's like, you have all these ideas, but you have no way to do it.
Hmm.
Like you don't know how to get there. So she trained me a bit on how to get there, but she knew that I needed to leave to learn more.
Cool.
So I just
So
kind of like took a bus to New York and applied at Bumble. I just showed up and I was like, hey,
right.
yeah.
And so you only had your hair school training applying at Bumble. Did you feel like pretty confident still, just being who
No,
you are?
no, not at all. I worked in the salon for about a year and I learned a bit. But when I showed up at Bumble, I was like, hi, I'm Mischa, which I feel like I say that all the time. And I'm like, all that's how people are in Buffalo. They're like really like
Sure.
friendly. And it was, I, it's not that I didn't have enough confidence. It was just a completely different setting that I wasn't used to.
Hmm.
Um, and I applied, I got hired on the spot, and I totally lied that I lived in New York already, and I didn't. And I had to like move out there in a week. And I remember when I started at Bumble, I had to wear all black, which I never do.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people like they did make. I thought it was so cool because I knew Maggie, but I would wear all black, and then I would wear blue glasses, a blue scarf, blue shoes,
Hmm.
pink glasses, a pink scarf, pink shoes, and I was those. I don't know. I was just like, hi. But I feel like I was the last group of people that was hired there that had the Bumble education,
Mm.
like the true Bumble education.
Okay.
Um, I started with Ruby Jones. You know Ruby
I
from
know
this
I know
Salon?
who she is, but I don't know her.
Oh, she's awesome.
Cool.
So I started with Ruby Jones, Edward Lampley,
Hmm. Okay.
um, this awesome chick named Frankie, who's still at Bumble, and then this other guy, Rick. So we all started like at the same time. And we were kind of like the last group that got the full on intense, you're going to cry every day training.
So tell me about that intense training. Was it that bad? I mean,
It's
that
nothing, I
good?
mean,
Or
it's memorable.
yeah, yeah, that
like,
happens.
so how it worked there is you're assisting 5 days a week and assisting people in the salon, and it's fast paced and it's like go 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 go, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And then every Monday you would do 4 models every single Monday, and there were 4 to 5 educators who would supervise you.
Hmm.
So you would start, it was very very like regimented. You would start only scissor, first long layer, bob, graduated bob, short hair men's. And you couldn't pass off any haircut until it was approved by everybody
Hmm.
multiple times.
Hmm.
And you had to bring in 4 long layers for it. Like just the sheer work of getting the models was insane.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's no Instagram, hey, I need models.
right.
Like it was Craigslist in the street. So just like doing that was absolutely insane.
Hmm.
Um, and then you have 5 different people with 5 different personal opinions going through your haircut section by section by section.
Right.
And um, like it's not that I'm an insecure person, but that just really rattles your self-confidence a bit.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow.
Hmm. It's
So
terrible.
it was terrifying.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I think I was 20, like 23 at the time. And I felt like I felt like a little kid again. It
Yeah,
was great.
I'm not
Like,
I'm not low key trying to get your age, but what year was
um,
like what year was that?
I'll tell you, my Botox is still looking good.
You
So
look great.
I'm 30. I'm 36.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we're around the same area. I'm 38. It
Maybe
was a
maybe I was
similar.
20 older than that. I really have no concept of time.
It's all right.
Maybe
It's not
maybe I was
important.
24.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening by the time I finished my apprenticeship was I knew how to do all the things that I wanted to do before, but then I lost all my creativity.
Wow. That's heavy. Okay.
Which that was like a big mind fuck. It's like, okay, you're done. Here you go.
Hmm.
And then I would go out on shoots and I would start doing clients. And if they didn't show me a picture of an exact thing that I had already learned, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know where to go from here.
Right.
Um, so then I had to like
So real quick,
adapt a little bit.
were you doing shoots like as soon as you got in New York, were you trying to start like working with photographers or no?
Not really on my own. I did a little bit here and there on a totally different scale in Buffalo. And looking back at those images, I'm like, ugh. But you have to do it somewhere. A little bit. When you start at Bumble, you choose at the time education or editorial. I chose editorial. So I started assisting and doing Fashion Week right away.
Wow. Okay, cool. That's one fantastic thing about Bumble, at least at that time, because
Yeah.
that, I mean, you're in New York, so obviously that's a component. Any other place,
Right.
I don't think that was really an option, you know?
And that's what I wanted to do. I love my clients. I love doing my clients. But if I didn't have all the other stuff that I do, I wouldn't feel as whole. So I remember like right when I first started, it was Fashion Week, and my first show I ever did was Chateau Ralph Rucci with Laurent Philippone,
Mm,
which
love Laurent.
Ralph Rucci, it was known for being like the most technical, intense, intricate hair ever.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was always like clean alien shapes and like perfect grain. And that's things that you have to practice for a long time to do.
Hmm.
And no one told me that. And I just kind of set up in an area that was open. Turns out it was open because it was for Laurent. Um,
Wow. Because he was
nope.
so intense, or I've worked with him a couple times.
I love Laurent.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but no one on the Bumble team told me don't set up there, and no one said you're an assistant, don't set up at all. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, and Laurent doesn't know who I am, so I start getting models, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And the first model I did, he approved, and the second model I wasn't allowed to do anything really for the rest of the day. But you know, I was just kind of thrown in and see if I could swim.
Hmm.
And it was fun. It was cool. It
Hmm.
was really cool.
Yeah.
But when I started doing shows, it was like with Neil Moody,
Hmm. Lovely
who,
guy.
oh, I love him. Whoop,
Mhm.
catch is running by. Neil Moody, Rolando Beauchamp, who's amazing. Max Pinal would pop in and out here and there,
Cool.
which is really intense to help him out. Obviously, Jimmy Paul.
Hmm.
Um, Amy Farid. It was a lot of really awesome people
Yeah,
that you got to work with,
sure.
which was cool. And then because of that, I got to assist on a lot of the shoots. Um, and sometimes I still feel like maybe I didn't choose correctly when I was coming up at Bumble. Like I I was never anyone's first assistant.
Okay.
I never stayed with someone consistently. I never had to set anyone's kit up or pack their bags or drag things around.
Was it
They
something that you were being offered and decided not to do?
I think I made it very clear that I was
Right.
not good at it,
Gotcha.
which I don't know. Sometimes I think back and I'm like, ah, shit, did I mess up?
Hmm.
Like, should I have really devoted time into training with someone um, exclusively and get that experience?
Right.
Because I started doing my own things there pretty early on.
Hmm.
So they would send me out on shoots for like Nylon, or do like a hair tutorial, do this, do that.
Hmm.
And sometimes I still like think maybe I'm just really emotional today, but I'm like, oh man, should I have gone that path?
Right. Right.
Because
So
there's so many paths you can go down.
yeah, and no clear one. No, there's no protocol, so you kind of just have to do whatever feels right.
And I feel like I went down all the ones. Like I right now I'm like, I feel like I'm teaching, I'm doing clients, I'm doing editorial. I'm trying to bridge the gap between this whole Instagram hairdresser versus serious world. I feel like there's like a big divide in it. So I'm
Yeah,
like, I feel like I kind of did a lot of everything,
sure.
but I didn't do like one thing fully.
Was there any human in that realm that was kind of an accelerator of your path? Does that make
Um,
sense?
like push me through.
Or like, I mean, for me, I was never anybody's first assistant either,
Oh,
but for me, when I was like dabbling in the fashion world, it was James Petches. Like I met him and
James.
I was like, oh, that's my guy. Like he's the one
Yeah.
that I want to, follow through or emulate or whatever. Who was that for you, if anyone?
Oh,
And am I screaming?
I,
It's getting really intense.
I feel like we're hairdressers. I feel like we always kind of scream.
I keep
But
catching myself getting closer to the screen. It's terrifying.
I know I'm trying. I'm gonna sit back in the comfy chair. Well, before I started working at Bumble and stuff like that, I would always look at the bylines in magazines,
Mhm.
and I would always just like get really into that. And every single time I looked at an editorial that I loved, it was always Duffy.
Yeah.
Um, Fucking loved Duffy, and I got to work in his team for a while, which was really cool. It was always Duffy, but like wow, that was really not good English. But I never like been like I want my work to look like this person's. You
Right.
know, like
Right.
I I I like what I've learned and picked up from everybody, but I've never wanted, at least day to day, to be like I want my career to be like this person's.
Yeah.
Um, uh, like I yeah, ish.
Yeah.
Um, ish. I don't know. I I feel like it's weird. Being in my position. Well, I'm your first female, I think, that you've talked to in this
Yeah.
series,
Unfortunately,
which
yes.
is
Well,
freaking
it's
cool.
fortunate, but it's unfortunate that it's taken this long.
I mean, we're gonna line up the other chicks,
Yeah, we
but
got it for sure.
I feel like the way developing characters, the way I developed myself, um, like appearance wise, we'll start there, has been a service and a disservice to me. So I have a very strong outer character, which I've been yellow for 9, maybe almost 10 years now. And that was a very conscious decision
Hmm.
because I didn't want anyone to ever forget me. Also, no one can ever forget me.
Yeah.
So I had to, I always have to be careful about how I present myself. And also I'm very, like, I'm a loud character.
Hmm.
So I always had to be careful of uh, how I was acting where I was, because people can't be like the brunette girl in the corner. They're like that loud ass yellow haired girl over there.
Hmm.
So like that was a very thought about thing in the way I presented myself. Disadvantage to that is not a lot of people take me seriously.
Interesting.
Though even though I have a lot of the, like, I have the Bumble training, like I shut up, Ross. I I was like, I can do like some technical hair. I don't do it often. I know how to do that all.
Hmm.
Same thing with haircuts. I do the free razor thing, but I can also execute some precision haircuts. But I feel like I've also had to, because of how I present myself, try even harder to prove that I can actually do hair,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know
Makes
why.
sense.
I don't know why I complicated things so much, but even backstage, because a lot of people knew me. They're like, "Oh, you're Mischa from Bumble." I had to like center parts. I had to like re-establish myself again after that, I think.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. Was that a question or did I just go off on a really big tangent?
No, I think it was a question. I think it was somewhere between a question and a tangent, but it's glorious. Like I love tangents, so
Yeah.
feel free. But
So yeah, it's just like it's a very conscious thing that I've done, and sometimes I beat myself up over it, like making it harder. I'm like, oh well, I don't know. I'm like, you don't have to make it about yourself, make it about the hair, which I do, but I also I don't know. You can go now.
it's fine.
Your turn.
So obviously you're memorable, right? And you know that you are, and there's reactions and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But do you think a lot of that was you projecting that, or do you think it was real? Like, were people put off by you because of your look?
Well, it's not for everyone.
But we work in a world that's like creative, so you would think,
You would think, but it depends. It depends on what scenario I'm in. As an educator and teaching and stuff, it's worked like to my advantage. In certain scenarios, like if say I'm doing like a celebrity someone for red carpet, something like that, I'm very conscious of how I dress myself,
mhm,
so I don't, sort of calm it down a little bit.
right?
So I'm very, very conscious of that. But yeah, I feel like some people maybe don't like it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not the type of like it's not the type of audience I think I would want. Also, like in the editorial and the fashion world, I don't think I'm not very fashion. Like I'm not into the whole like fashion trend things like that. So I don't know. Yeah, some people could be put off by it, I think.
I've got to say, like,
But
I've never met many people who are iconic who cared about what was the latest in fashion ever.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
good for you.
Yeah, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been wearing the same falling apart like vintage clothing for years until it's like on its like last thread. Um, but yeah, it's a weird thing. Like especially now in this new world we're going to be going into, like trying to figure out where everyone's going to fit in and like I don't know.
You mean like post-pandemic? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
post pandemic.
Right.
Quar is what I've been seeing the
Whoa.
hashtags.
I've not heard that yet, but I'm not
Post
going.
quarantine, right? Isn't that freaking terrible?
So,
Um,
so, um, so you were during this time you were working at Bumble, everything was cool. You were like in the heyday, for
yeah.
and then what happened?
Then well, I was at Bumble for about 11 years or so,
Yeah.
and things were going. The opportunities that I had there were kind of crazy. I eventually started teaching, so I was doing editorial and teaching. They would send me on a lot of the shoots. They would send me on a lot of these like press things. I got to go on tour with Laurent for his book launch. I think it
Awesome.
was like 4 or 5 cities, and we got to do hair with him. Uh, I was on the team for Bumble's first behind the chair show that they ever did, which
Nice.
was and Laurent led that, which was crazy. They also brought me to London to teach in London and to go to this festival called Port Elliot. My wife was allowed to go because I needed a babysitter in case I flew off the rails. But they brought me to London and I got to do hair with Stephen Jones, like the most well-known milliner in all of the land. And we
Nice.
got to sleep in a yurt and dance with Sandy Powell, who created the costumes for Cinderella,
Amazing.
and drink tequila out of the glass shoe and dance in the woods outside of London. I'm like, and Bumble sent me there. So
Nice.
like I got that it allowed me to do all these really crazy cool things that a lot of people there didn't do. But then it came to a point where I was not happy. I was really upset. I'm a very emotional person. And when my emotional world changes, I take it very deeply.
Mhm.
And a lot of things changed there. And instead of me like internalizing it, I just started just acting like a bad employee, to be honest. I would come home very upset. I wasn't, my clients knew there was something wrong. And I tried to hide it. And then eventually, they let me go. Like literally, poof, the week before Christmas, out of nowhere, 2 years ago.
Wow.
Which I knew that I knew that it was time to leave. But I just couldn't pull the plug myself.
Sure.
So they let me go over a tiny plant, which is another story. It's the craziest thing. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't scream. I didn't kick stuff, which would have been funny. But yeah, they did me a solid and let me go before I started hating my job and hating my craft, like my actual career.
Sometimes you just sabotage things to lead your life in the way you need it to go. I mean, it definitely happens.
Yeah. And like, it would have been a cooler story if I was just like, you know what, I'm done. You're not serving me. I'm leaving. But it had to happen the way it happened. And I'm glad it did. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So at that point, I mean, I'm trying to put myself in that position.
I was devastated.
Well, yeah, because your validation a lot of times comes from the world that's, you've been building around yourself, whether it's being an educator, which is constantly validating, or whether it's, doing all the jobs that they were providing for you or linking you up with. And then suddenly you're all alone. Is that how it felt?
Which is kind of what I always wanted.
Yeah.
But I was just like, whoa. Since it happened right before Christmas, I was taking a few weeks off anyway. So I had a week where I had to find some place to put my clients, to do my clients for a week. And then I had my first Christmas break full through New Year's that I've ever had.
Cool.
Like in 11 years.
Nice.
So it was actually kind of great. But all of a sudden now I had to learn how to be my own business.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even own a computer. Like, the last computer I had when I bought one a few years ago, I asked my wife, I was like, where's the right clicker? She's like, oh, it doesn't exist. Like, I had to learn how to get a booking app, do this, do like for my clients at least. For everything else, that fell into place. But it was pretty crazy. But still, people were like, oh, you're Mischa from Bumble, for literally up until I think like a year and a half ago. Awesome. Like, people kept saying that. Yeah. And I'm like, ugh.
Or maybe not awesome. Yeah.
So, no, not awesome.
Yeah.
Because it took a while to be able to just to shake off the
Bumble
from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also gives you a little bit of clout too, does it not?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, maybe because it came from what Bumble used to be like.
Right.
But a little bit of clout, but I was just like, can we just like drop the from and just be like Mischa G and just call it a day?
I've always known you as Mischa G. That's it.
Thank you.
Actually, I knew you at first as Mischa G.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I didn't even realize that at all, but people started calling me Mischa G, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And then people are like, oh, it's because you do shag haircuts. And I was like, oh, Jesus.
I didn't even think that. I was just reading it straight through.
No, but people, so then I was like, oh God, do I change my Instagram handle?
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm leaving it, it's fine. But Mischa G autocorrects to mischief.
Nice.
So I kind of like that better.
I won't say what my name autocorrects to. It's never good. But
but Clara, that's so I was free for like the first time. And one of the good things that I always that I still look back at from Bumble was I didn't only work on Bumble's editorial team. I decided that I was going to work outside of Bumble. So I started working on teams with people that didn't use Bumble products.
Okay.
Which is a tricky thing when people can recognize you very easily.
Right.
So I started going to Europe, started going to Milan and Paris. I would room with Clara.
Nice.
And a bunch of other gals.
Yeah.
But I would have to use my vacation time because they wouldn't let me out of the salon to do that.
Right.
So what ended up happening for about 4 or 5 years was I was exhausted. I I would work nonstop, use my vacation time to work more, not get any breaks at all, and just keep doing that. And I was doing like the whole circuit for a few years. And it came like, I think it was like 4 years that maybe I had a few weekends and like literally no time off at all,
Nice. Wow.
which is crazy. So
Yes.
getting that little bit of a break was nice. Uh, and it also helped me develop the relationships that I had after Bumble and the teams that I worked on after Bumble, which was cool.
Did you try to test shoot in all of this, or were you just waiting for gigs to come to you to like develop your book?
Oh no, I was always shooting.
Cool.
I was shooting a lot through Bumble. Through my most memorable and still my favorite shoots were with Nylon magazine.
Cool.
I had like a little mini team we put together. The beauty editor at the time was Jade Taylor, and it was myself, this makeup artist Michael Anthony, who now lives out in LA, and he is working with Lady Gaga. He's
I
Katy
think I know
Perry's
them.
makeup artist.
Yeah.
Manthony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was me, Manthony,
Hmm.
Michael Kozak, who styles a bunch of stuff now, Flurry Rose on nails, and then Jamie Nelson, who's one of my friends who's amazing with shooting it.
Cool.
So like it was like the coolest group ever. So some of my favorite shoots are still back from that time. And I guess I was testing, but I was getting paid for all of it,
Right. Yeah.
which was cool.
Totally. Totally. And in your position, that was available to do. I know a lot of people just have to figure out how to get their work on camera, and it
Yeah.
takes a lot of work.
But also for me, like doing editorial exclusively, that wasn't my goal.
Mhm.
It wasn't my goal at all. Like having fun, creating art, doing things like that, I love doing. But for me, it has to be like when I want to do it. Like it can't be like, oh, we have a shoot on Tuesday, you have to like create. Like that's just never how I wanted to work.
Right.
If I was forced to do it, I probably could, but that's just not the direction I wanted to go in. So I wasn't focusing solely on that all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
And now like, oh,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my wife, she's a photographer. She's also a creative director for a big company, but she's a photographer. So I would work a lot with her. And then one of my best friends, Darian Darling, is an amazing makeup artist who's out in LA now. So like we would like do stuff, but my goal wasn't to be in a big magazine or to like lead shows all the time.
Is it easy for you to shoot with your wife? Do you guys jive creatively quite a bit?
Like yes and no. What was happening was she had a lot of free time while I was killing myself at Bumble, and I had no free time.
Right.
And I literally was so depleted, I didn't want to do anything. And every time she wanted to do something, dogs are barking, I didn't want to do it. Now the tables have turned where I have all the free time, but now she's working.
Right.
But one thing, what did you say from working with other hairdressers, Morg? Nope. She's like, nope. She's like, from working with other hairdressers and stuff on set, she's like, I just wish I could have you there all the time.
Right.
Because she knows my attention to detail and how I'm always like crazily, obsessively there and touching up the hair nonstop.
Yeah.
So
the most annoying thing is when you have to ask somebody to do their job.
She just said the most annoying thing is when you have to ask somebody to do their job.
That's good advice, hairdressers.
Right?
Yeah.
And since I'm all the time, I'm always like, wait.
Mm-hmm. I think that balance is hard for hairdressers because they don't want to be in the way of the photographer, so they're always
Right.
like dancing around it. But that's good.
Yeah, but I feel like with Morgan, I'm always like, hey, which can get annoying, but
Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, it's fun to work together. But again, it has to be like when the wind blows from the west and the stars align this way, and then all of a sudden we're both in it. Like it just has to be like the right time.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not good at like forcing it or, emotional.
What are you drinking there?
I'm drinking Aperol Spritz.
It looks really refreshing. I'm jealous right now.
Yeah, it's in a beautiful vintage cup.
Yeah.
That's all we've been drinking for a month and a half straight.
Yeah. I get real nervous before this video, like I do one of these, and so I'm always like, I don't need a drink, I'm good. And then it never fails. Like 3 minutes before we start, I go like slug a tequila, the whole.
Fun, loosen
Yeah.
it up a little bit. Why not?
So so lately you've been working with Pony, Karina.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about you guys' relationship.
I cannot believe I'm allowed to work with all those people. It's like, it's the coolest thing. So, Karina and I, we never really worked together at Bumble, because she was doing Bumble live education out in the field. But we would work together backstage. We would see each other backstage. And she was just like so cool, so humble. And then the first time I worked with Pony was she was just coming out with Pony, and something happened with one of our other educators. So about 3 days, I believe the class was a Sunday, on a Thursday night or a Friday, she called me and she goes, "Hey Mish, what are you doing this weekend?" And I was like, "I don't know, girl, you in town?" She goes, "Would you fly out to San Francisco and teach a class with me?"
Nice.
And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Something popped up and I need someone." And I was like, okay. And we had never taught together. I didn't know how she taught, what she was teaching. Pony was, as a company, was still in like the beginning stages. So I was like, okay. So I literally flew out. I got into San Francisco, I think at midnight, and I had to teach the next day at 8 a.m. And we taught 2-day razor class together.
Awesome.
And I was like, I was so intimidated. Like I was so nervous. And a lot of times when I teach, I always wear, I get red. I'm red right now. I always wear high collars, scarves, dresses to hide my redness. It's not nervous. It's just excitement in general. And I was so nervous the whole time. I was like, oh my God, why is she asking me to do this? Am I being punked? Am I going to like, what's going on? And it was great. It was a great 2 days. And what Karina is doing is, and the group of people she has, it's like the most amazing educators and hair cutters out there.
That's awesome.
I think.
Yeah, it's really great.
It's really awesome, and it's bringing back the old Bumble family.
Yeah, it seems that way. And I'm an outside observer of the Bumble family, but it's really cool.
Because like the training that you have, like not only did you learn how to cut hair, you learned when you're teaching how to stand, where to put your body when you're cutting, and in high school I was doing theater and all those things, so I was comfortable on a stage. But you would learn public speaking. You would learn all these other things in addition to hair.
Sure.
So not only actual like talent wise is everyone like cream of the crop, but everything else that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Is pretty cool. And when I was being taught at Bumble, I butt heads with some of the educators there because it was their way and that's the only way. And if someone's like, no, you did that wrong, I would get defensive and I would be like, well, why? Let's have a conversation about it. And I would get shut down every time when I tried to open up a conversation. So now when I teach, and I feel like a lot of the educators at Bumble, at Pony, feel the same way, is if a student's like, well, I want to do it this way. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about the outcome. Let's talk about why, and having a discourse of like how you want to do the style, the ponytail, the bang section, and why.
Right.
Instead of being like, this is the way you do it, and this is the only way.
Sure. Yeah.
So I feel like when I teach now with Pony, it's like I get even more confident and more confident and more confident every time because I'm having conversations with people.
It's hard because I met Karina on a James Pettis show like I don't know how many years ago, and I just she's so lovable and warm and like it was just great from the start. But I started taking some classes with her, and it's actually there's so much freedom there. I'm used to rigidity in education. It's almost like hard to get used to. You're like, oh, I can kind of do whatever I want. Okay, like.
Well, whatever you want when you understand what if someone's like, I want to do this, but they can't tell me and defend themselves why they want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, do it. You're doing it my way then. Do it my way.
Nice. That's beautiful.
But if you can defend yourself,
Yeah.
Like maybe your way is going to make more sense for your model, your client.
Sure.
But I've never been a fan of no.
Yeah.
Like no. Even if I'm completely wrong, give me a chance to defend myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like when I'm teaching people, especially a lot of these, that sounds rude, a lot of the dry precision cutters,
Mm-hmm.
I literally, I'm just like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to shake it off, because I feel like they're in the mindset of how I was after my Bumble training, where I only knew how to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and I didn't know how to think.
Yeah.
So when I'm teaching and stuff, I want everyone to like leave thinking, knowing how to think,
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, you're doing it this way. Same thing with backstage. Some of the teams I work on, they do a demo. They're like, this is the way we have to do it. Use these products. But if in your case with your model, you feel like this isn't right or that's not right, like use your human brain and think. Sure. And that's what I've learned from like Gary Gill and like James Precious and people like that. Holly Smith. It's like, you know what you're doing. So don't do this if you know it's not going to work. Think.
Yeah. I hate generic questions, but
yeah,
where do you see the next 5 years going for you? What zone do you want to be in?
During this, so it's so funny how this break is happening right here, because all I've been talking about is how I need a mental retreat. I want to be able to not work for a few weeks and just find out what I like again. The way this happened isn't how I intended to take this break. And I'm really appreciating the balance of home time and family time, cheers, and not working as much.
Yeah.
So next 5 years, professionally or personally? Personally, if I don't have a chicken coop and a farm and a house upstate, I'm going to be very upset.
Fair.
Professionally, I feel like whatever's going to happen after this is going to be a big factor in it all. I'm so thankful that I have diversified all the things that I do, so I can kind of adjust my career based on availability, I suppose. I feel like education is still going to be a big thing, and doing personal things. But I don't know. In 5 years, I want to kind of keep doing the same thing I'm doing now. I feel like it's really working. I don't want my own product company. I don't know if I want my own business. Maybe, but after all this, it's a pretty scary time if I had my own business as well.
Sure.
I don't know. I kind of want to keep doing what I'm doing, and something else that I've been thinking about that I'm not going to share here, which is combining education and that retreat mentality into some else, but not in like a hippy dippy way, like some place for hairdressers when they're feeling burnt out to go and develop a new skill or something like that.
Sure.
What the chicken coop and the garden and the farm can play all into that. But that's something that I've been toying with, especially living in New York. Like just getting to wherever I'm working is like, you're exhausted.
Right.
So I don't know. If you asked me this 3 months ago, my answer would probably be completely different.
Yeah.
And if we're still doing this 3 months from now, it could change again. Education retreat, kind of like that, but not like in a campy way.
Sounds
like
great.
So that's something that, so if you have any investors, but that's something that I've been thinking about, because my sister's a medical massage therapist. She lives in Colorado, but she's always working out my arms for me, because not just cutting, but carrying my kit. Like after I get done with Fashion Week, like my arms hurt just from carrying the shit. Like it's like 50 to 70 pounds. But doing something where you don't have to perform, like it's not like a class where you have to have an end result. It's just like, let's learn how to rewire your brain, and so you can actually create things.
Sure. Yeah.
instead of like every day you're just like, and you're looking at the internet and you're like, oh shit, I'm a failure. I'm not doing like just to like, I don't know, take a few days, figure out who you are again.
I think there's tons of room for that. I think that sounds really cool.
Yeah, because if you're a hairdresser doing clients all the time, you get burnt out. If you're a hairdresser doing shoots all the time, you get burnt out.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, just something. So maybe doing something like that. I don't know, like a hairdresser education retreat doula who raises chickens. I'm not sure.
Yes. Well, whatever you end up doing, you gotta let us know. It sounds like you're on the right track.
Something like that. I don't know. I just want to raise my dogs in a nice home.
Well, certainly either way, but if this quarantine lasts a lot longer or whatever, I would like to meet with you again. We'll have another
Yeah,
discussion and see how some of these ideas evolve and do a
yeah.
part two.
And we can get into talking about actual hair, and people.
Yeah.
Bedside manner.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, we've got some. Let's do it tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I have a list of things. I always go through this and I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. And then I never do.
I don't either. I usually come in with a list and it's better when I don't follow it. So,
And then I threw you the clown school curveball.
oh, it's the best curveball. That's my favorite stuff for sure.
I'll send you some pictures.
Okay, please.
But I learned wigs from an early age.
That's so cool. Okay, look, just in case this cuts us off because it has after an hour,
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
not good at this.
Oh,
But
RuPaul's Drag Race is starting soon. So
okay, word. So let's get together soon.
yes.
And I really appreciate your time. And I hope to see you in Dallas next time we
Doing
have you
it
guys
for the
out.
women.
Yeah, we got a good lineup coming, and I appreciate your help with everything. It's so cool.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
Nice to finally meet you.
Over the
Yeah,
internet.
yeah, you too, for sure.
Have
You too. I'll see
fun.
you soon.
Bye, babe.
Bye.